our audience will now ask you the questions. And the first question I will ask. So we were speaking about the great cases, the great companies and brands, and the main topic of our discussion is about the impact of advertising on the society and vice versa. So the first question, please name one brand or one company that has the largest impact on our society, in your opinion, and explain why in few words. Назовите, пожалуйста, один бренд, который с вашей точки зрения наибольшее влияние сейчас оказывает на общество в широком смысле и почему. Ольга is ready. Ольга готова, да?
Мне нужно на русском или на английском отвечать?
Как хочешь.
Как у нас для спикеров переводится?
Ну, или... давай на английском, если получится. Мы поможем.
I think that the main important influence make, of course, Apple brand, and you know that this brand is one of the icon for our modern society.
Apple.
Yes, Apple, because you know that it's one of the fantastic case because the most of us today really is the owner of this brand, and this case help us to analyze how can you influence the conscience and subconscious of each people, because when we imagine this brand, when we try to describe this image, all of us describe it in all specific items and characteristics. And I should add that for me, this brand, even after die of Steve Jobs, is one of the more influenced brand. Yes.
Yeah. That's true. Thank you very much. I agree. But guys, Apple is already taken. Now your turn. What brand would you name?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would name a brand. I think the power is more in the people, the customers, the consumers. So how they act will have an impact on brands, because brands are just trying to sell something. And if, for instance, the clients of Apple would take care of a good production, good quality production, and the focus on, I don't know, human rights while producing computers, if they would decide that this is an important topic for them, it will have a direct impact on the brands and how the brands are communicating. And this is what's happening right now. I couldn't imagine that Mercedes-Benz would do this kind of communication if there weren't be the discussion around women rights and women topics in general, the Me Too thing.
And maybe one very interesting thing is when brands decide to take a position, even then when they know this is going to be really polarizing. I'm thinking about Nike this year, for example, their Dream Crazier campaign. They decided to take Colin Kaepernick as their ambassador, knowing that half of the population in the US would hate them for it, and the other one would love them for it. So I think this is where it becomes even more interesting, when it's about, okay, I'm deciding to take a position, and I know that not everyone will love me for it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I agree to all of you. Can't say anything against it. Okay, now let's ask audience for the questions. Пожалуйста, вопросы. Можете на русском, можете на английском. Лучше на английском. Мы попробуем перевести.
Thanks. Thank you all guys for the speeches. It was really inspiring, each of you, and it inspires me to do something meaningful. And my question is there any difference in perception of advertising by young people, by millennials? So we see now that the channel, it changed. So previously it was TV or something, radio. Now it is social media. And does the perception change or not? Or people are still people, and millennials thrive for the same things, same values as kids 50 years ago? Thanks.
Thank you. Поменялось ли восприятие рекламы у молодых людей, у миллениалов с появлением новых рекламных каналов и так далее? What do you think? Millennials, the main topic.
Yes.
All advertising agencies
It's one
are
of
talking
my
about
favorite
it.
things because in the group of companies we have also millennium-minded agency, and of course the most of us, the most people in my team are millenniums. And firstly, I said that each company have to change their communication strategy and creative ideas, because millennium-minded people not only search the information on the internet, we live in the internet, and each day we spent a lot of time on the internet, and nowadays I noted that the most brands want to change their communication in more easiest way, because to spend a lot of time on the internet and to look and compare all the differences of the brands, it takes time. But we short of time, we want to spend our life for really important things, and brands know it. That's why I firstly what I noted that almost all the brands which are conservative try to make their unique communication in digital, and we try to spend the most creative ideas in integrative communication, which are based on the modernist technologies. But I don't say that my answer is very unique, because we all know about it. I can't say that I'm an expert in different channels and forms of communication, but what I see, because it's my sphere, you know that cost marketing agency is based on the social responsibility approach and sustainability, that really millennium people are firstly trying to analyze the measurable results of brands which give us possibility to do our best in social issues, solving problems, ecological problems. And I see that my students, I also learn teach students at university, that people are crazy about the participant of this process of solution making, because when you give their tools how to change your life, thanks to these brands, you also want to promote this brand, to discuss this brand with your friends, with your family. And what is about me? To be honest, each brand have to take social impact in its own communication. It's not future, it's our real time, and that's why I think that these are not so important which tools you use. What is more important, what content, what purpose of communication. And you know, for example, a good example in Russia with Reebok, you know that I really like this brand and I spent a lot of money for Reebok, but I hate Reebok after this campaign because these values is not совпадать. Yes, with my own, and I don't want to buy this brand. Yes, I prefer Nike today because this campaign nowadays didn't make something terrible. Yes, it's my answer.
Thank you, thank you. Have you heard about this Reebok case in Russia? No?
No, unfortunately
There was a
not.
big scandal about Reebok and feminists, and it was a very provocative advertising with feminists and like the kind of provocative slogans, and a lot of people, especially men in Russia, didn't like this advertising at all, and after all, Reebok has deleted all the posts about it and so on. Okay, do you have something to say about the question about the young people, millennials, channels, and so on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to what you've said in your talk, that the quality of the content is the most relevant factor these days from my point of view, as there is so many communication going around, as there is so many buzz around certain topics. Once you're opening your Facebook stream, 1 minute later you see completely different content. The only way for brands of getting a certain kind of recognition is by quality, or by being I don't know, stand out with their communication or with the quality of what they have to say. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, it needs to fit into the different channels. You cannot create one, 10-minute video for Instagram or so. Yeah? Something like this, you have to adapt it. But I would say the main thing is quality. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree with quality, and also you have the knowledge about your audience today. For example, you can know exactly who is following you on Instagram, who's the kind of people that you reach when you do an ad in a magazine, and this knowledge helps you to create content that needs to have high quality and that maybe speaks a little bit more to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also the quality is not only the item itself. So the advertisement itself, of course, has to have a certain quality. But from my point of view, quality is also the way you communicate with your audience. If you, for instance, just post the quality content you've created 20 times a day just to make sure that everyone sees it, that's not quality communication from my point of view. So the way you communicate needs to match also your audience as well. And sometimes less is more these days, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. More questions? I remind you, Olga, Christian, Ellis, some questions about their cases or maybe the advertising world.
Hi, I have a question for Alice. Have you checked the perception, women's perception of the Mercedes brands after this commercial? And I also have a question, does Mercedes brands do something really important for women, or it's just about commercial? Because I think if you say that the brand should be relevant for the trend, then it shouldn't be just a video, it should be something more.
Okay, very good questions. Question number one, no, we didn't check. And I'm very sorry that we didn't. It would have been amazing if we would have checked before and after. But I think what we are doing is, this can't be a one-off. You know, it's not that we do this film and then, oh my God, women are going to love Mercedes. It's obviously going to be a much longer journey. And this is something that we have in the back of our mind with the work that we do every day. And then this was the biggest example of it. And speaking about the second question, this very male-driven identity doesn't reflect Mercedes as a company at all. So they have various equality programs, and they, I don't know, my main client is a woman, her boss is a woman, so it is actually also a very female-driven company, and this is why I think it reflects also really well in having done this sort of advertising.
Thank you very much. Еще вопросы, дорогие друзья? Ольга, Кристиан, Элис. Еще один вопрос у девушки, вот.
What do you personally think about promoting some kind of products like cigarettes or alcohol, and etc.?
Как вы относитесь к рекламе и когда вы каким-то образом участвуете в коммуникации сигарет, алкоголя, всяких таких нехороших вещей? Ольга.
Oh, yes, sir. It's a very interesting question for me. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke, and really my life was changed during 2 hours, 2 years ago, and I really think that this advertising has no any future. Because all of us think about your healthy, about your emotions, about your lifestyle, and I think that all these brands which were mentioned have a lot of limitations and troubles to promote their products nowadays. And as for me, this advertising influence society in not a good way. And for my agency, cost marketing agency, it is forbidden to work with these brands because these brands, is the style of these communications do a lot of problems for us, for people with which we, in our case, have to fight. Yes, and that's why for me as a consumer and as a cost marketing trendsetter, this question is very huge, and the communication and the existence of this brand is terrible.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, guys, the great client with huge budget comes to you and tells you you should make advertising for our cool cigarettes, alcohol. What do you say, usually?
I would do it.
Yeah.
Sorry to be that honest. I would do it because I personally think I would do it. That doesn't mean that the agency would do it. That's so. I'm still in a team with lots of people, and we do communicate and we talk about these kind of topics. But I personally would do it. I do drink alcohol. I stopped smoking 10 years ago, but sometimes, if I'm in the right mood, I do also smoke. But this is something I rarely do because I take the responsibility for smoking myself. But it's up to everyone else. So that's my point of view. So if someone wants to smoke, feel free to do so. I'm not the government. With these kind of topics, I don't see a big issue. So that's very easy for me. If you would ask me if I would work for, I don't know, an oil company or something like this that is really doing harm to the world, I'm not sure if I would do it then. I would respond to it the same. But especially with alcohol and tobacco, yeah, I don't have a big issue with it.
Okay, so different opinions. Alice, will you?
I think it's a very personal decision. I worked on alcohol. I never worked on tobacco just because it's so regulated in the markets where I've been working on. I really never had the chance. I think I probably wouldn't do it, but I don't know. I think if you start thinking like this is, would you work on fast food? There lots of brands can have health implications, and I think on agency side it's up to every person to decide, I feel like I want to work for it or no, and on a bigger scale it's just up to the governments to decide what is allowed on advertising scale or not.
Thank you very much. Also very nice opinion. One last question we have. Последний вопрос, дорогие друзья, про кейсы, может быть, про кролика. Неужели у вас нету какого-нибудь вопроса? Хорошо, спасибо большое. Thank you very much, guys. We are finishing our discussion.